Of course, it comes down to Nvidia's AI chips and the sort of demand for those, whether they can meet the demand. But what are you expecting when the expectations are already so sky high as well?
I expect them to come in at expectations, possibly even beat the general expectation. The demand for AI is just super hot. They can sell anything they have that's going to come off the line for at least another year. So we expect them to just continue to have blowout quarters. Having said that, I do think that the market can be a bit unrealistic in terms of the growth pattern that we have. Nvidia is actually an extremely strong company, the bellwether of AI, obviously doing grand. But having said that, the market keeps pressuring them to continually overperform. And so we expect them to sell everything they have. And then the only question is how fast they can get those Blackwell chips out so that they can actually meet the next wave of demand that we're hearing from hyperscalers that really do want to move into the next generation platform.
Yeah, and I think we saw that earlier today because we had the cybersecurity company Palo Alto reporting as well, and they actually met estimates. But after hours, their stock dropped to nearly 10% at some points in the session. So perhaps foreshadowing what could be to come for Nvidia if it does indeed just come in line. But what do you think they're going to be able to say to really impress investors? Do you think it, for instance, relates perhaps to the new Blackwell chip?
It's a long game and a short game. So one of the things we really like about the Nvidia strategy is the fact that it's not just a hardware-only play. They're actually going to be building a software revenue stream around it. They're also very vertically integrated. When you look at healthcare, when you look at manufacturing, they have the ability to not just apply AI as it is in chips, but to really think about the industry perspective around AI, which means that they can be part of the development cycle for a very long time. So really the issue is one, timing of the Blackwell chip, but also two, timing of when they start charging additional money for software revenue and this NIM, this NVIDIA inferencing that they were talking about, having an additional software revenue stream. I think that's an extremely smart move for the company to diversify themselves to being both hardware and software. They're obviously software already, but having very specific enterprise software to create what they have been calling the AI factory, I think is the wave that we're going to be looking at over the next coming years. Having said that, people are really excited about hardware. That's the big number. That's the number that drives lots of billions in an organization. So really the timing of when this happens, people are just constantly expecting them to outperform, so there's a ton of pressure on them. Having said that, they're the game in town to beat with AI, and everybody wants what they have.
A lot of the loftier projections for growth will come down to the ability to secure supply, right? Is there any concern or uncertainty on that side, particularly when it comes to Taiwan Semi?
I think we always have a concern when it comes to supply because we've had such a tremendous fast ramp up in demand, probably the fastest ramp up in demand we've ever seen for any type of technology anywhere in the world. So given that, there's obviously concerns. One of the good things about concerns, so you have to balance the good with the bad. So the bad is there might be supply chain constraints. The optimistic side of that is when there are supply chain constraints, you have very high margins and the ability to charge a premium for the product. So it's a nice balancing effect for NVIDIA, and there really isn't a lot of downside. I think for NVIDIA, this is all about managing the expectation of how much growth there could be, because the market does expect them to constantly overperform. And it's just a matter of at what level of overperformance. So they have to really be careful about how they guide for the next several quarters, because that's the unknown of will hyperscalers actually hold back orders or other things.